What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Nick 4K video. Today we're checking out a video by Jeremy Johns, and he's going to be doing the review for Season 2 finale of House of the Dragon. So if you haven't heard, Season 2 is a little divisive. I don't know if he'll be doing spoilers in this. I'm going to guess not. He's a pretty smart reviewer. He doesn't usually do spoilers unless he mentions it. Doesn't say anything about spoilers, so he probably won't, but he'll probably touch on things here and there. So if you haven't seen the show, you should probably watch it first, make your own opinion, and then go watch reviews like this. But before we jump in, let me give you my thoughts on this. I think that this season was overall pretty good. There were definitely some sluggish moments. There were some parts where it felt like, oh, is this just an entire filler episode, like this entire thing? You know, for a season of only 8 episodes, it's weird to have a filler episode in that. It is odd, especially considering I really thought House of the Dragon Season 1 was really good. After Game of Thrones Season 8 was, for me personally, there were some cool things in that, but overall that was a super letdown. So after that, I wasn't looking forward to House of the Dragons, and then Season 1 was just really good, just super solid all the way through. You could say it's a little rushed, but they were trying to cover a lot of that time period, and I think they did a great job in just those 10 episodes. Season 2 definitely had some really cool moments. Of course, the dragon fights are always the best, and the battles, but at the end of the day, it is a TV show, and even though it has one of the biggest companies backing it, there is a budget they have to meet, and so some things have to get skipped over. But when it comes to Season 2's finale, it definitely felt like they made the last episode a filler episode, and that's just not what you do. Like, it's one thing if you wanted to make like episode 2 through 7 all filler, but you can't make your last episode a filler episode. But without any further ado, let's check out what Jeremy has to say about this. I'm going to be stopping the video every so often to kind of give my points on whether I agree with him or I disagree with him. So with that said, let's begin.
All right, House of the Dragon Season 2 finale. It's aired. And you know how at this point I usually give you my disclaimer, tell you, hey, this is me talking about this episode of House of the Dragon. Not going to be a play-by-play, but just some things that stood out. And then I do a soft play-by-play, but they are things that stood out. I mention them for the sake of talking about what happened, making some jokes, giving you my opinion, moving on. Gonna go ahead and forego that. Gonna talk about some spoilers in the season, sure, but I just want to give you my overall thoughts on the season and how it wrapped up. Gonna try to make this quick so you can get back out there watching those Beard Meets Food videos. You ever watch Beard Meets Food? My God, how entertaining is that channel? Anyhow, so Season 2 of House of the Dragon was like, it was the pendulum swing from Season 1. You know how Season 1 skipped years almost to a fault, but we were still having a good time with it? It's like they were like, we want to course correct that in Season 2, so Season 2 is gonna have a lot of filler to draw out the runtime to a fault. But looking back, I do feel like the first half of Season 2 was solid. I now have to humor whether or not I'm looking at Season 2 of House of the Dragon and my enjoyment of it through rose-colored goggles of sorts, because it was my Acolyte palette cleanser. It was like, was I enjoying it because I enjoyed the palette cleanser and I appreciated that? But I do maintain there was something there in the first half of Season 2. The Daemon hanging out in Harrenhal thing, that stood out like a sore thumb, where it was like, can we get that going? But for the most part, yeah, the point, I just feel like this season lost the way. Episode 8 is the finale of Season 2, in which the biggest action sequence is a fist fight in the mud. Although looking at Game of Thrones, it did have a history of having the second to last episode of the season.
Real quick, what the heck was that scene? The mud fight scene. What was that? Why did that feel like it was something out of like one of the filler episodes of Mandalorian in Season 3? Like that's something we would have seen during that. It was so odd. That was something you might put somewhere in like episode 6 of this season. You don't put that in the last episode of the season. That was a weird call. Very strange, especially when you have to wait a whole another 2 years for the next season. I don't know, I'm a little scared. I did think that in the beginning of Season 2, I actually forgot about this, just reminded me now. In the beginning of Season 2, after episode 1, with the writing, when it comes to those 2 criminals who snuck into the castle, I know the one was a rat catcher, but it's one of those things where they were like just sneaking around, 0 guards around, no guards watching over the queen, no guards watching over the prince. It's just like, what are you doing? Like, what is this writing here? Like, at least have like, maybe they show an example of them potentially like knocking some guards out or killing some guards to get to them. Like, it's just like, it didn't add up. It was just it was sloppy, and that's what happened with Season 8, so it was a little scary, but the rest of the season was actually pretty fun, good entertainment. Like I said, whenever there's a dragon on screen, the show becomes like, it goes from just being like okay to being like amazing, so hopefully we get more dragons. I hope they just get a bigger budget to allow them to do more dragons.
Having that be the big action episode, and the finale episode might have been cool down or set up for the next season. And although the second to last episode of House of the Dragon Season 2 was dragons eating people, that was fun. It takes more than just things happening that are cool to watch. Otherwise, you might run the risk of your season feeling like filler. Not all of Season 2 feels like filler, but Season 2 had a lot of filler, earning the internet nickname House of the Dragon On, which is a bummer because it's so well
House of the Dragon On.
to fall into this world. There's
That's great.
intrigue here, absolutely. Interesting characters, no doubt. But it's being squandered on a show that's padding its runtime and episode count, drawing out a show that probably would have been a cool 1 to 2 season adaptation. No, instead, let's make it 4. If I'm looking at it, the most holy shit, can't wait for the next season cliffhanger moment episode is actually episode 4. Rhaenys and her dragon die. The king gets toasted by his brother's dragon. Did his brother do it on purpose? Did he not? Is the king alive? Is he not? This was a 4-episode season disguised as an 8-episode season. In fact, I didn't see until it was too late. For that, I apologize. What can I say? It's a world that had already hooked me, so I was constantly met with that feeling of, yeah, but it's gonna go somewhere. There's gonna be payoff. In the end, I just kind of feel robbed. Haven't even gotten to the last time I have to talk about Daemon still hanging out in Harrenhal.
Yeah, that was
Maytag
too long.
Without a doubt, the most interesting character in the series. He has a fight with his wife. He takes off, just hangs out in Harrenhal for the entirety of the second season, and does fuck all.
Yeah. So. There's actually in the books, I don't know this like 100%. My one buddy, he knows everything about Game of Thrones. Like he knows all the characters, he knows all the story, all the history, all the lore. He knows all that. But he told me the reason why Daemon is there is because in the books, Daemon's not really doing much during this point of the Dance of the Dragons. So the show tried to give him more of a reason and explore deeper themes onto the type of character he is. But in doing so, they also kind of changed his character from the books now too. So effectively we're in this alternative universe now. Before you could kind of like look at the books and watch the show at the same time and be like, oh, okay, so that matches. It's a little different here and there, but overall it matches. But now Daemon pledging to Rhaenyra, that makes a whole new point of in the timeline, which isn't there. And so there's effectively a new timeline that this show might pursue. And I don't know if I'm 100% for it. I think like I'm not the biggest fan of the books, so it's one of those things where like, you know, I actually appreciate the fact that like someone can't be like, oh, this person dies from this person now, because it's changed now. It's now anyone can die at any time just because. So I don't know. Some people don't like that. I think that's actually a good change. The books also write everyone to be kind of crappy. You know what I mean? In the books, everyone's bad. In the show, it's clear that the blacks are the good ones and the greens are the bad ones. You know what I mean? They write them in a way that's like you can kind of understand both sides, but overall, the blacks are in the good. They are the ones usually doing the right call. And Rhaenyra is our hero, right? Well, she's one of our heroes, so we want to root for her, and the show has to take a stance effectively. I think it makes sense. I'm cool with the idea of them potentially pursuing a more alternative universe, but, you know, I know not everyone's going to be happy with that.
Me of Hiro Nakamura in Heroes Season 2. You want to feel old? That's right, kids. 18 years ago this September, a show called Heroes premiered. But the point is, in the show Heroes, Hiro Nakamura, for the second season,
I never watched Heroes. I always heard good things, but I never watched it.
Far longer than he needed to. And every time we cut to him there, it just ground the momentum to a halt. I'll give Heroes Season 2 credit. That arc was actually building to something. It was building to the villain, though it took too long. It's actually not as bad on a binge, but imagine that shit week to week. It drove us nuts. It was very much like Daemon in Harrenhal. He should have been there for 1 episode, maybe 2, max. Instead, they made him feel like that guy who had a fight with his wife, then he crashes on his friend's couch, you know, until he gets his shit in order. And then he just, you know, crashes there for far too long.
You gotta get... It's the same thing with Anakin Obi-Wan type of situation. You gotta get Obi-Wan away from Anakin so Anakin turned to the dark side. That's pretty much what it comes down to. Well, it's something along those lines anyways. Like, you gotta pull Daemon away from the fights so more fights can happen that Daemon doesn't step in and, like, you know, make things harder for the enemies. Like, for instance, like when Rhaenys went to go fight the king, right? If Daemon was also there, she and Daemon could have definitely taken out both the king and Aemond. You know, Vhagar wouldn't have stood a chance against the two of them. But you got to pull him out. You got to let other elements happen that effectively, because he wasn't there, things happened. And like I said, they're trying to give him a purpose beyond just not really showing up in the books much at that point. I think Harrenhal definitely went too long. He makes a good point that during binges, like now that all these episodes are out and someone can actually watch 1 to 8, it's probably not going to be as noticeable. But from week to week, it definitely feels like it's a point where like you're watching the show and then you get to Damon and you want to like what he's doing because you like Damon as a character. Well, you don't necessarily like him, but you like how like rough he is. You know, he's a tough, he's a tough guy. It comes to the point where like whenever you see him, it kind of brings the show to the slow a little bit. You're kind of like, we're at Harrenhold again. So that was rough. Like I said, with binges, it probably won't be nearly as bad. But for the first release, people are going to remember this. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know.
Just mope around and have salvia trips. The points does rear its head in episode 8 of season 2. So we can have this quick vision of the events of Game of Thrones. That's it. No, this is just frustrating. Anyhow, those are my thoughts on season 2 of House of the Dragon. A season 2 that peaked halfway through at episode 4, and a show that is not justifying its episode count. It's signed on through season 4, in which season 4 is said to be the final season. My one thought being that's a lot of filler episodes. I feel like this is going to be a project for a lot of editors out there. Remember Phantom Edit? Someone edited a lot of the Jar Jar Binks scenes out of the Phantom Menace. Topher Grace recut the Hobbit trilogy into one movie. I feel like when House of the Dragon is done, fan editors are going to come out of the woodwork and just cut this down to one solid season of television. As for HBO, why make 1 or 2 solid seasons when you can draw it out to 4? It's just annoyingly apparent that that's why.
Okay, so good video there, Jeremy. I don't think that it's just going to be 4 seasons. I think they're going to try to draw this thing out to 5 seasons. I had seen that season 2 is effectively like only 60 pages of the book, 60 to 90 pages of the book, and there's still hundreds of pages left. So they're going to draw this out, and I am almost certain they're going to make this a 5-season show. They're going to announce that. I don't know when, but they'll probably do that. I think it might be smart that they do keep it 4. Even though season 8 was rough, it made a lot of money. So it's one of those things where they're going to keep doing them. But what do you guys think? Did you guys enjoy the final episode? Did you enjoy the entire season? What did you guys think about it? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. If you have any cool ideas for future videos I should check out, let me know in the comments. And if I do a reaction to your video, I will give you a shout out in that video. But thanks again for watching. Catch you later. Peace.